everybody, and welcome back to All Routes Considered, a podcast brought to you by the A to B Global Media Transport News Network. Now, we've got quite a special treat for you today. You might notice that I'm actually all on my own, which, it might seem a bit sad, but fear not, it's actually not sad. It's actually quite exciting. My wonderful co-host Tiana May is currently traversing the United States. She could be climbing a mountain. She could be looking at some autonomous vehicles. These are both things I expect of Tiana throughout the summer months of every year. So, joining me today will be Shamil Maindiratta, the new managing director of FlixBus UK. We're going to talk about her career, FlixBus's rise to prominence, passenger infrastructure, and so much more. And so, with the different format, we're actually just going to cut straight to the nitty gritty and go straight to the chat. So, I hope you enjoy this conversation with Shamil. I'll see you on the other side. Thank you very much. Right, Shamil, hello, welcome to the show. And of course, thank you so much for being our very first guest. We're so happy to have you here to talk all things, yourself and of course, FlixBus. So how are you today and how are you getting on with this wonderful heat wave?
Hi, and yeah, thank you for having me. I think it's a privilege to be here first, if that is in fact the case, and really excited to have a chat today. You've got me just after my third month mark, by the way, which is quite a special milestone within the company, and it's felt like a year already. But it's been amazing. Today's been great, hot, as we were chatting about a little while back, but I think it's better than it being ice cold. But so far, so good. I think the amount I have absorbed in the last 3 months has sort of pleasantly surprised me in every way possible. And it's been an incredible first quarter. And a lot of exciting things kind of shaping up. And I guess we'll talk about that in a bit as well. But yeah, so far so good. How are you doing?
Yeah. Oh no, I'm great, thank you. I'm great. As we said, it's quite the day here today. So
It is.
it's a heck of a day to be wearing a shirt in a small room. Um, so I have a little look into some of your previous roles and the journey you've taken to get here to FlixBus today. But would you mind giving the audience just a brief introduction to your career history, how you started out and maybe what drew you to Flix as a company?
No, absolutely. So obviously I'm going to try to keep this as short as possible, but I can start from like where I'm from and who I am really. So obviously, as you can tell from my accent, I'm Indian. I was born and brought up there. I moved to this side of the world, as I say, about 10 years ago, actually. I came to the UK to do my MBA, had the privilege of doing that at Oxford. It was one of the best experiences of my life. And then I moved to Munich for about 4 years and then came back to London and have been here for 5. So it's been incredible. Talking about my career specifically, I think going way back, I did actually start my career in finance. I was at Goldman Sachs for a couple of years, had dreams of building a career out there. But through that experience, I did realize I really enjoyed client-facing work. I wanted to test something different in a different industry to understand if finance was my thing. And I moved into an agency, actually, a startup. And that's where I got a taste of building something from scratch. And I feel like that was a bug that I caught effectively. It was an insane learning curve, a lot to build and scale quickly. And I think that sort of combination was a perfect time for me to step away and study further, actually. And obviously had intentions of maybe doing something to do with problem solving and consulting. I was very clear I wanted to be in a commercial role. But Amazon kind of came knocking. I sat through a presentation and I just realized it was maybe the next best fit. And I don't know, like 9 years of my life just flew by. I've spent time across different business units, as it's referred to. Within Amazon, it's basically their retail, most well-known part of the business, which is their e-commerce offering. I was in the advertising business when it was nothing, building it into whatever it is today as a full-fledged media company as well. And that was an incredible learning experience for me in scaling and building teams, because that was an end-to-end 5-year sort of plan there. And I actually had the chance to end my career within Amazon, within the fintech business as well. So if you think about it from the outside, it's completely unrelated. But I always refer to it as sort of the trifecta of e-commerce, because you understand the core retail, you understand what drives sort of impressions, volumes, and sort of eyes on whatever you're selling. And finally, how do you pay online? Because it's a web and it's a fascinating world in itself. And coming to the final sort of why Flix and why now, I think, as I said, I spent a lot of my experience within Amazon picking up skills and applying them along the way. When you think of Amazon, it's like the world's biggest startup. It's what they call themselves as well, and it is true. Every business was a mix of sort of building from the ground up or just scaling and taking it to the next level. I've always been intrigued by taking that externally and doing it in a company that aligns with my ethos and culture. When Flix sort of approached me, it was a bit of a, wait, am I the right person for this role? Because I'm not from travel. But I realized quickly as I spoke to the team, the leaders and the people I met with, I knew instantly it was going to be the right chemistry fit. It's very similar in everyone's super passionate about what they want to build and solve for. And that is infectious as culture goes. The second element of it is what the founders have sought out to do in a quite sort of tried and tested conservative and well-practiced industry is sort of disrupted, but in the way that benefits customers, and build scale on top of that. Because transport obviously has its nuances locally, but taking it that level up and creating a sort of global brand like this, and the opportunity of building a new market within that actually. So some of these factors was a combination of why I decided this was my next step. And I think, like I said, so far so good. I haven't regretted a second of it.
Honestly, it's an amazing journey. I think it's so inspiring. It's brilliant. So I mean, FlixBus. I mean, you say like expansion. Building. Getting bigger. It's founded in 2011. In Munich, right? And then it's risen to prominence across Europe, and then now it's undergone quite the metamorphosis. It's everywhere. It's not just in Europe, it's in the US, it's in Mexico, it's all over the place. It's for lack of a better term, it's becoming a pretty recognizable household name. Over the years, it's expanded into a huge number of additional markets beyond its European scope then. So what are the plans looking like at the moment, for further expansion, be that in the UK or beyond,
Yeah, no, and like rightfully so, by the way. And when you said we've become a household name, we can only hope that's the case, by the way, and that's all we wanted to be. But yeah, I think there's two layers of this actually, and you've touched upon quite interesting sort of pillars of growth that we talk about as a leadership team as well. So obviously geographical expansion is super important, because what we're really trying to build is a world-class, globally scalable brand in coach, which is something that is obviously disruptive. And a lot of the markets you've mentioned, including the likes of Australia, India is a very, very big expansion market for FlixBus as well. And when you think about the size of the population, access to towns that are not connected by rail, it's really solving on the ground problems for a large population of people. And I think just bringing focus back into the UK, and what's been super exciting for me, obviously, is like you said, we have had a company that has been growing across the board since inception about 13 to 14 years ago. But the UK business is only 5 years old. And sometimes we blanket it as part of the European sort of portfolio, but there are markets within Europe that are quite mature and where we've established a very strong foothold. The UK has its nuances, obviously, because it is a market that's highly competitive. But if anything, the last 5 years has shown us is that the customers have said that, yes, there's appetite for this, bring us more. So that's sort of the focus for the next year. We have had incredible growth in the last 5 years. I think the team that has built that still sits in the room. So there's a lot of pride in there, but the passion hasn't worn off. We're only going to go bigger. And I think I came in thinking that I would have to just carry this really amazing gift that was given to me. But no, we're not. We're hungry. So we're going to go bigger. And that's pretty much our plan. And I think what's incredible is we're being very intentional about where we want to expand, access we want to create for people across the UK, work with our partners, because this is building businesses, not just for us, but building their businesses as well. So it's a really fun expansion plan, actually. But that's core focus for the next year or two.
No, amazing. So just, more, bigger, it doesn't stop, the onward march of FlixBus across the country. That's great. No, that's great to hear. So FlixBus recently took part in a campaign with the UEFA Europa League with the Trophy Talk promotion. Could you tell us a bit more about that and sort of how it came about, maybe?
Yeah, absolutely, actually. So I think this is a partnership we're really proud of, because when you think about brand engagement, you want it to align with what your brand stands for. And I think when you think about Flix as a brand, it's not just getting from point A to point B, it's experiential. We want people to think about travel as a way to just enjoy life. yes, there are necessities of work and etc. in that reign, but the UEFA partnership kind of fits within that sort of sports experiential pillar. And we have actually been a proud sponsor of both the Conference League and the Europa League for the last 2 years. We started 24-25. And as part of that entire activation, actually, it's also engaging with our customers. The trophy tour actually has had its second year in the UK. It was London last year, and we decided to bring it to Birmingham this year. And effectively, what it was is an on-ground activation where customers can sort of chat with us about the brand, get exposed to football ambassadors, win tickets to the finals, which was in Istanbul this year. So it was exciting. But I think it kind of aligns with what our brand stands for, which is if you want to get from point A to point B, whether the experience is something that's passion driven or need driven, you don't have to think twice. And I think it was a massive success. We had amazing feedback. And honestly, the best feedback is when you see people show up. And it was, I think, a great activation overall. And this is a partnership we'll be continuing into next year. So let's see where the trophy tour takes us next. Yeah.
Yeah, of course. Yeah. Did you manage to go to the final in Istanbul?
So I didn't, but I have to say it's because I was being a good manager, and I was like, okay, clients and my team can get to go first. I'm going next year.
Wow.
I've already had that deal with the team. I was like, you guys get to go to Istanbul, wherever it is next year, I'm going. But no, jokes apart, I obviously had competing priorities to deal with, but yeah, I'll be there next year. There's no doubt. I'm not missing it for anything.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it sounds incredibly selfless. So, I mean, hats off to you on that one, because that would have been.
No, I just made it sound like that, by the way. I fought tooth and nail, and I was like, okay, I have to give up. I can't go.
I cannot blame you. So, I mean, do you think there'll be any more promotions like this in the future? Is there anything, in discussion? You don't have to give any details, but just, anything more like this?
No, absolutely. And like I said, I think the intention is to continue this partnership, because when we think about, of course, we're a global brand, but Europe is sort of a big foothold of that. And the alignment of a pan-European football tournament of that scale just seems like the right fit. It's also a perfect use case for us, because we have seen very real cases of exorbitant ticket prices across other forms of travel at this time. And we want people to experience what they're passionate about at affordable prices and reliable. So that's been a perfect sort of synergy. I think beyond that, like I said, it's experiential. So we're big into festivals and cultural experiences as well. And an upcoming festival we'll be sponsoring actually and being part of is the Forwards Festival, which will be held in Bristol end of August. So it's going to be fun. If you see bright green anywhere, it's probably going to be us. But yeah, it's really exciting stuff like this that brings us closer to our customers as well. And I think the teams on the ground are very intentional about actually collecting feedback on the ground, engaging with them, because that's the best way to understand what's happening and what's going right or wrong. So there's various use cases of that, but yeah, there's going to be plenty such activations in terms of our brand marketing strategy.
Yeah, no, that's great. I tell you, I went to Forwards about 3 years ago. It's a fantastic festival, actually. That's a really
and the lineup this year looks really good, by the way. It's so funny. When I found out who was, I was like, wait, sorry, we need tickets for the team now.
Yeah.
Usual, but no, I think it's gonna be a good one. And if the weather is halfway decent, I think it's gonna be a weekend to remember, really.
Yeah. I'm always quite interested in these sort of these coach services that take you straight to events from different towns and cities. I think that's such a great idea. I've always been someone who would always rather get on public transport to go to an event rather than take my car. So anytime those things are on offer, I almost always take them. I think they're a really great incentive and really great move, and they're better for everyone.
Yeah, and it's such a responsible way to have a weekend away having fun. You don't have to be bogged down by driving, and that should never happen. So various alternatives now.
Yeah, I went to see The Cure last night in Cardiff, and I was stuck in 30. Oh, it was something, but we were stuck in 38-degree sun,
not so
pure sun.
Yeah. Wow.
And again, like if I'd had the option to not be driving myself and sit on a nice comfortable bus, then I'm pretty sure I would have done that. Anyway, so in a previous episode of Or It's Considered, me and Tiana discussed what seems to be sort of a recent spate of investments into bus infrastructure, across the UK and, some, quite a few instances across the world as well. So it really seems like companies and municipalities are starting to pay more attention
Mhm.
to the conditions surrounding their services, particularly with regards to passenger experience.
Mhm.
Is this something that is this anything that you've noticed as well? How much importance does FlixBus place on the conditions of the infrastructure it operates in, and does that come into consideration when planning new routes and services?
100% by the way. And I think the way we obviously plan our network is to ensure that it's the least amount of inconvenience for our customers. Because when you think about coach, likely other than people living in a particular city, it could also be a connection. So it's more holistic. We obviously favor bus and coach stations because from a familiarity standpoint, they're where customers expect to board. But we're also specifically when it comes to airports and any kind of sort of connecting travel, we try to minimize that switch time wherever possible and ensure that it is seamless for a customer with a bag or something that they need to lug around. But in terms of infrastructure as well, this is a conversation we have across our key relations and destinations. We work with the councils. We are obviously proactively looking at ways to enhance. We're placed right by Victoria Court Station as an example as well. So there's a lot of conversations with their teams, ensuring that a customer experience is sort of intuitive. People are not stressed while traveling to understand where and what. And our station agents that are placed across key relations enable that as well. But an infrastructure conversation is ongoing. I think when you think about sort of the future of the business, it's not just about infrastructure today. We're almost always present at tables that are talking about the future, whether it's alternative energy, it's thinking about how we plan sustainable transport as a whole in the UK. How can we take away some of that stress that's on rail? There's a lot of conversations that we think about, but it's solving the problem for the customers as a whole. It's not just bifurcated. But yeah, no, I think it's also exciting because a really privileged part of my position is to be in rooms where the next 5 or 10 years are being discussed with members of parliament, with councils. That's something that we tend to proactively engage with as well, because we do want to understand how we can help governments enhance their sort of citizen experience as well, for the lack of a better word. So yeah, it's always top of mind.
No, yeah, it's interesting. It seems to be more of a like, sort of a going concern in
Yeah.
sort of the last few years anyway. We've noticed a lot more, just a lot more importance placed on where people are waiting and what kind of facilities are available for them. Because I mean, it always it will lead to a better experience all around. So it's really good to hear that that's something that you guys really take into account when you're planning everything. No, that's great. So Shamil, we actually come to what is the final question of this
Already,
chat.
it's felt like the chat just went by like that.
It really has.
Yeah.
So when I was going over the list of topics earlier today, I suddenly remembered that I actually included this last question, and part of me thought, well, we'll just skip this one and keep it really professional. But actually, the more I thought about it, the more I'm kind of interested in your answer for this one. Do you have any insight as to why FlixBus chose the color green to represent their identity? I know companies have consistent branding, obviously, colors, but a lot of thought goes into these things. So I was just wondering, why so green?
I mean, why so green is because we want to be so green. I guess that's the best way to put it, right? We are a sustainability first transport provider. The green we chose also across the spectrum of green to me is absolutely iconic, I think. Because even if people don't know our name, I get referred to as, oh my God, you work at that green bus company. I'm like, okay, we've nailed it. It's done. So yeah, I think it sort of is a very clear visual of what we want to leave as a legacy on this earth, I think, as a company. So the green is sustainable. And it's fun. Because I think what's hilarious is before Brat Summer happened, we were still that green. But then Brat Summer happened, and well, we didn't contest anything. We just let it happen. So yeah.
Was there any consideration for like a Flix Summer kind of collaboration, or well, maybe not collaboration, but taking advantage of the fact that you were first. Flix Summer was before Brat Summer.
I mean, it's not Flix Summer; it's Flix all year round. That's what we're aiming for. But Brat Summer
Excellent
happened.
point. Yeah.
But no, I think we debated reaching out to Charlie XCX, and then we thought she had better things to do for that summer, so we refocused on other festivals. But maybe in the future, if she ever wants to revise it, then she knows exactly which brand to partner with.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I can see that clear as day, and I'm very excited about the prospect of that. So yeah, no, I mean, I think that about does it for time today, then, Shima. So again, thank you so much for coming onto the show, and thanks so much for being such a wonderful first guest. It's been an absolute pleasure. Is there anything you'd like to let the audience know before we disappear, or?
No, first off, just thank you. It's been such a fun chat. I don't know where this time went, by the way. So kudos to you because it felt like I was chatting with a friend over coffee, just minus the coffee right now. But yeah,
Perfect.
so thank you. It's been an absolute pleasure. And whatever I think we're looking to build, I hope everyone listening to this does get on a green bus, tries it out. Whether you love it or don't like it, please let us know because our aim is to only get you to love it more and more. And hopefully you'll see us everywhere. I think we've started a pretty cheeky brand campaign. I hope you're already seeing us everywhere, but our aim is to make you actually turn your head every time you see a bright green bus go by. So the aim is to just keep that growing. But yeah, it's been a pleasure, and I hope this is the first of many interactions we have.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, yeah, thank you so much, and that does it for this interview. Thank you again.
Likewise, by the way. Chat soon. Thank you.
That's it. Thank you. So that was our chat with Shamil from FlixBus. I think it's really interesting to find out more about these companies that have slowly started to just grow and expand out of, like some fairly, simple beginnings. As we said in the chat, they first started operations in 2011 in Munich, and their UK business is only 5 years old, but it's growing at such a pace that, it's impossible to ignore the big green buses on roads all over the UK. So, what did you think? Let us know what you thought. If you've got any questions for Shamil, let us know, and we can get across to her. We'll hopefully have her back on the show again at some point because that was a really enjoyable time. So thank you so much for joining us again, and we'll be back with more All Routes Considered very soon. Goodbye.